Welcome to the Movie in Your Mind podcast, where we dive into classic movies that have left a significant cultural mark, but that our guests have somehow never seen. Each episode, we explore their expectations and imagined ideas about these iconic films, then contrast them with their immediate reactions after finally viewing them. Today, we are watching Aliens. Welcome to the Movie in Your Mind podcast. Today we are joined by filmmaker and life coach Remy, and he has never seen the movie Aliens.
Hi, thank you for having me, Chris.
Thanks for coming on, man. How did you consume movies growing up?
You've mentioned before your access to film because of your brother, and I kind of envy that because I'm the oldest in my family, so I didn't have anyone cool to kind of like guide me and whatnot.
Right. You had to break your own ground.
Yeah, I had to break my own ground, and I'm the oldest of four. We didn't get to go to the movies that often. And so for our parents who, I'm first generation, they weren't in the know of like what's coming out or whatnot. But I distinctly remember going to the drive-in.
Nice.
The first movie I saw was Tim Burton's Batman.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah. And for me, it was getting snuck in, under blankets, and then having pizza and fried chicken from like some local mom and pop's pizza that you also snuck in. And just that sense of being sneaky and and then watching the Batman. I think it's safe to say it was maybe formative. I don't know. Obviously.
I mean, you love Batman. So that was the first movie. Did you ever watch the Batman TV series on TV ever?
No. Another thing, at home, I didn't have television or cable like people did. I remember it was such a luxury to go to a cousin's house and see Rugrats. Any cartoon that kids would get to see. I actually grew up watching, oddly, just what was on TV, which at the time was the A-Team.
Yeah,
or Knight Rider.
Of course.
And so I didn't grow up on cartoons. I grew up on that.
More adult content.
Yeah. And again, without any supervision of you shouldn't be watching this or not. Just like that's what was on TV.
Right.
After drive-ins, I think the next big thing for us was that there was this like small theater in a mall. Like there was this mall, and there was a theater in there, and it was like discounted movies. And so
second run.
Problem Child is a movie that comes to mind for that, whenever that was. Oddly enough, that theater, I remember, I was old enough to maybe like go on my own. And I went and saw, not ashamed to say it, Romeo and Juliet by Baz Luhrmann.
There's no shame
by
in that
myself.
Movie. I love that movie. Yeah. By yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, and I dug that. That was I remember it, so it was great.
That's also formative for you.
Yeah, also very formative, I would say. Yeah. But
so when you watch Batman now, like 89, does it feel childlike or cartoonish to you? Or
yeah, I mean, it was so formative just watching it, and it takes me back to being in the back of that station wagon eating ice cream sandwiches and candy. So nothing can take that away from that movie, whether better things come along afterwards.
Sure.
Yeah. So I have a lot of respect for what it was at the time. Obviously, watching it now, there's things that you noticed and see that you didn't see before. But
you know what I'll say about Batman in 89 that hasn't been improved on and hasn't been equaled or matched in any of the subsequent Batman movies is the Prince soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
I know a lot of people consider it the bottom of his career, but man, in the summer of 89 when Bat Dance was on, it was fire. Everyone was just like, this is the song of the summer, and it was just Prince personified. Sort of that duality of Joker and Batman, and he made cool videos, and
the music video is amazing.
Yes, and I just love the way in the 80s a big summer movie would thrive throughout the entire summer. I would get the cassette, I would wear out the score, and then I'd be like, oh, now I'm gonna flip to the Prince soundtrack, and it would just continue on, and it would just completely dominate my entire summer and color it. And so whenever I have a total nostalgia for the summer of 89.
Nice.
Anytime I listen to the score or the Prince soundtrack, it brings me right back there.
That's awesome.
And I feel like now it's just in and out. Oh, this is a hit. Yeah, it goes on a couple weeks, maybe a month.
Right.
But maybe it's just being an adult and having more things to do, but I kind of miss how a movie would just dominate my life.
I mean, you're speaking to a time like you have like a big star like Celine Dion who does a song for a movie, and that becomes such a part of it. Yeah, now it's just even when you have musical artists that do film, they're doing a score, like a traditional score, like Johnny Greenwood.
Yeah,
and so it's not that iconic artists lending themselves like Prince did. I mean, he did a full send.
He did a full album.
Yeah.
And like most of it's in the movie, whether or not it's like incorporated into the score or just a little bit on the radio.
And the music videos. And
I will say Billie Eilish and Barbie does come close to that.
That's true.
Maybe that didn't dominate my world as much as Prince and Batman, but the tradition is not completely lost.
It's not, but it's definitely, I mean, you have like Kendrick with Black Panther, but it's more of an album. You're not making these iconic songs that are just really prominent, I guess. They're as I'm the artist and this is me. It's more you're humbling yourself to the film itself. Yeah.
Interesting. Did Batman 89, did your family enjoy the movie when you saw it?
I think my parents enjoyed the kids not bothering them for 2 hours. And I was the oldest. I don't remember. I mean, it was a me moment.
Right.
It was me in that
this
film.
is for Remy. It's not.
Yeah.
Really for us,
I don't remember. My siblings must have fallen asleep or something.
Got it.
It was late, but for me, it was just that big screen and
right.
Yeah. It was great. My parents took me to that movie. They probably last minute chose which movie in the drive-in to watch.
Also, you weren't like caught up in the hype. You weren't like, oh man, Batman's coming out. Everyone's wearing these T-shirts.
Had no sense of it.
Okay,
yeah.
Right.
Now I look forward to movies like 2 years in advance.
Right. Isn't that crazy?
But at that time, my parents they weren't in the know, and I didn't have no older brothers who could do it. Right. You did, so that you guys were amped and prepared.
So this explains kind of why you might not have seen Alien or Aliens growing up.
Absolutely.
They're hard R's. They're very scary movies. They're not for kids. So, well, first of all, tell people what Alien movies you have seen.
So just this past year, I saw Alien for the first time.
Okay, the first one.
Yes. And then I think I might have done that because I knew of Romulus coming out.
Right.
And I had the pleasure of watching that with you.
Yeah.
In IMAX. True IMAX. And man, that was a treat. That was a treat. So yeah, I've seen Alien and Alien Romulus.
What were your thoughts on Alien and Alien Romulus?
I dug it. For me, even though I wasn't familiar up until just recently with that franchise, it's a franchise that exists in our culture. It's influenced films that I really like. So I knew that it demanded respect in terms of like what it was. So I just knew that it was informative to like things like Terminator or The Matrix. Those movies stand on its shoulders in a sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of Ridley Scott?
Yeah, I am. I wouldn't say that I know his work in a way where I can say, oh, that's what his style or common motifs are.
Okay.
But I do know his films. I enjoy them. Yeah, unlike telling you what a Burton film is or a Tarantino film or something.
Interesting.
Yeah, I do like Ridley Scott films.
What are your thoughts on horror and sci-fi? Do you prefer one to the other, or do you enjoy this hybrid sort of genre?
So I think we've kind of realized why I didn't get to see this movie as a young person. I didn't have access to cinema like one would. But another thing is that there was this kind of aversion to horror films. I was kind of a big chicken.
Okay.
I remember going into the VHS store, rental houses or whatever.
Yeah.
And they'd have posters of like Gremlins or some poltergeist movie. And I'm like, okay, I do not want to see that just because of the poster.
It is pretty scary.
Yeah. So there was never an interest in seeing horror films. But Alien, being this hybrid of horror and sci-fi, one of my favorite movies of all time, The Matrix, is this kind of hybrid of action and philosophy, if you will.
Yeah.
And I think it owes that to Aliens.
Yes.
Again, without knowing that franchise, I know that there's a lot that comes from it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But
had you seen the xenomorph, the image of the xenomorph, before you even saw any of the movies?
Yeah. Again, because it's so embedded in our culture.
It is. So
just
you
like
see it in a meme or something like that. Do you remember first seeing it and being like, wow, that thing's scary, or just was it always around?
No, it was always around, and it was, sadly, like, because this happened with The Matrix as well. It's always done in parody,
Right.
So it has this comedic element to it.
Yeah.
So the thing that I remember is that motif of the mouth opening and that other mouth coming out, and then another mouth, and then another mouth.
Right. Was that in like Family Guy or something?
I'm sure it was.
I remember firing up Disney Plus when Alien Romulus came out, and they had a huge splash screen with the picture of the alien.
Yeah,
going check out all the Alien movies. And I don't know if I don't have the kid safeguard on, but like if I'm a little kid and I see that image of the alien, I'm gonna go, what the fuck is that? Oh my god, that's I used to be.
I'm here to see Bluey.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, Lilo and Stitch, please. That's my kind of alien. But my brother had the graphic novel.
Nice.
And I remember I would sneak it out of the bookshelf and just like stare at one page, and then I would open it up to a page of the alien and go, and then like put it back because it was so scary. And I don't know, maybe I'm just a wuss, or like you said, that image was not so embedded in our culture and collective consciousness that it was just like felt forbidden and evil and really, really scary to me.
Pornographic, if you will.
Yes, well, Geiger is very intentionally, his work is embedded with that stuff. So now, do you know any famous lines from this movie?
So, no, flat answer is no.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. When we're talking about a sequel here.
Yes. Do you know who directed this?
Feel like it might be, you mentioned Ridley Scott, but I think this is James Cameron.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
what are your feelings on him?
I mean, the guy's made 2 of the top 3 highest grossing films of all time. It doesn't matter what I think about him.
You've seen Avatar and Titanic?
Yes, definitely seen those.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Terminator?
Yeah, and Terminator.
Okay, so you've seen a lot of James Cameron.
Yeah.
Okay. This is, I believe, one of the few movies that he took over an IP.
Okay.
You know.
Interesting.
Some people call him, the king of the sequel. Terminator 2 is a great sequel. Right. Like with the new Avatar, some people say that it was better than the first one. So like this guy knows how to deliver a sequel.
Yeah.
So
it was better than the Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'll say that.
Yes.
The movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you think of Avatar, it's better than The Last Airbender.
So the film Alien was not James Cameron. It was Ridley Scott.
It was Ridley Scott. Okay. Yes. And that was straight up horror sci-fi.
Yeah.
Now, do you know what to expect with this movie as far as the tone or anything like that?
I would assume the same.
Right.
Definitely still sci-fi. I'm wondering if they move away from horror. I don't see how they would.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what other element they might. Maybe action but I mean, I would imagine it's more of the same.
Right.
Yeah.
Because Alien, the first one, was very much like a slow-paced horror, dread, haunted house movie where there wasn't a lot of action.
I see. Yeah.
Funny enough that you saw Alien and Alien Romulus. That is the correct chronology for the film.
Nice. Okay, perfect. I'm great.
Alien Romulus actually takes place between Alien and Aliens.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to get your take on that.
Nice.
See if there's any connective tissue, so to speak.
Yeah.
Do you think there'll be a romance in this movie?
There's no time for that.
There's no time for
There's
that?
no time for that.
All
Yeah.
right.
I don't expect any romance. No.
Okay. Do you remember the lone survivor from Alien?
Yes. Ripley, right?
Yes.
Yeah. She survives by herself. Maybe was there a cat?
Yes.
Okay, so
she has her cat Jonesy.
I think the cat might be back.
Yeah.
But that's all I remember. Yeah, I remember that.
Okay. What are your thoughts on Sigourney Weaver? Have you seen any of her other movies?
Yeah, I mean, she was an Avatar. Seen other films of hers. It's interesting because I'm connecting the dots now. For me, even though I don't know aliens, we talked about the xenomorph and popular culture. Another thing that stands out is her character of Ripley, being this kind of like a strong woman character, and I think that is very informative of what came after.
Absolutely.
Like, for instance, Sarah Connor in Terminator, which now I've made the connection, is also by James Cameron.
Yes.
You think of like Sandra Bullock in Gravity and stuff like that. And so, yeah, I just think of her as this very strong female character who's not, doesn't have superpowers or anything, but is just very courageous and
yeah. How do you think it's going to start? What's going to happen in Act 1? And you've seen 2 of these movies.
Yeah.
So you are completely familiar with the full xenomorph life cycle?
No. So my understanding is that there's this like egg thing, and the egg thing opens coincidentally right when someone's walking up to it or near it, and a face hugger thing jumps out.
Yeah.
And it attaches itself. Then it impregnates that host with a little baby alien.
Yeah.
And that baby alien, within a matter of hours or days, pops out of your belly in the most violent way possible. It
is, yes.
And it scampers off, because that's the one thing I remember.
Yeah, it scampers off.
I remember that from Alien, just like, you have this very dramatic popping out, and then it kind of just scampers off the table and goes. Then within a matter of minutes, it turns into a full-grown alien.
Right.
Larger than man.
Yeah.
So that part's pretty remarkable.
Right.
And then they usually die by getting pushed out of air duct or something.
Right. So how will this movie begin? What's going to be the inciting incident? Where will it pick up?
This is challenging because, so I've seen the first one.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have to like kind of introduce our character. We don't have the traditional hero's journey of. So I'm thinking it's going to go the route of maybe introducing more characters, which is usually what you get in sequels.
Right.
Maybe a small team of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
A ragtag group,
right?
And then she's gonna be called back. She's not looking for more trouble.
Mm-hmm.
She's at peace with her cat, but something happens where she got to get back in the mix.
What will that be?
It's some kind of mission where her specialty as having interacted with these aliens comes into play,
right?
And she's offered money or something,
right.
or threatened. What's a corporation that's evil?
Right.
So they've threatened to like take her house or something,
right?
And she doesn't do this, so she's forced to do it,
right? Through the company, through the evil company,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
Okay, and how will androids, if there are any,
that's right,
factor into this movie? Because you've met already Ash,
yes,
from the first movie, Ian Holm.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen Rook,
I've seen Rook. We all saw Rook, yeah.
Over our thoughts on his visual effects, and Andy,
which he's phenomenal. He was phenomenal. Oh, and then also there has to be droids in this one, and I think it'll go the same route where we
prefer the term artificial person.
I apologize. So there'll be more artificial people,
right?
And I think we won't know who that is, like until later in the film.
Right,
so we won't.
It's going to be a surprise.
I feel like it'll be a surprise. They won't come out right away and say this. Yeah.
Right. Will they be good androids or bad androids?
I feel like they'll be bad because they'll be linked to the corporation.
Right.
So I don't have much hope for them being good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Interesting. So you don't know any real famous lines, but are there any other scenes that are iconic from this movie that you can recall?
No, I mean, I'm expecting xenomorphs.
Right.
I'm expecting more xenomorph. I'm expecting more like vulnerable woman in a tank top with nothing, just kicking butt.
Okay.
Just...
So that will be Act 2, like once they start fighting the aliens, you're expecting Ripley in a tank top fighting.
There'll be equipment and stuff, but all of that will break down or disappear or be unavailable, and she'll have to just her in a gun.
Her in a gun.
Big gun.
Yeah.
Just kicking butt.
Okay.
Yeah.
With her ragtag team, will they?
No, they're all gonna die too.
So all right. So let's move on to Act 3. Will there be some kind of twist?
No, I think it's gonna be this kind of like she kind of try to warn everybody, like, hey man, we shouldn't be doing this.
Right.
No one listens to her.
Right.
And there's maybe I would imagine a lot of cocky people who are like, don't worry about it, sweetheart, right. We got this. But they all die.
Right.
And she's the last one left.
Okay.
Again.
The last one left again.
Yeah. I feel like that's gonna be the trope is no one listens to women.
Right.
Women kick butt and
they survive with the cat.
Yes, with the cat. Right. Correct.
Okay. Yeah, what kind of tech are you expecting?
What
have you seen?
I expect a lot of what I saw in the first Aliens, which was this kind of like sci-fi a lot of blinking lights.
Right.
And buttons with no labels.
Right. So like an analog sci-fi.
Yeah.
From the 70s and 80s. What do you think of that aesthetic? Are you a fan or?
It's interesting because, I mean, for me, so my first real introduction into sci-fi was The Matrix. I mean, I could count Terminator 2 as well.
Yeah, sci-fi-ish, but the world isn't sci-fi.
Yeah.
Right?
And so with The Matrix, what I was introduced to was that kind of industrial techno environment, if you will, seen in like Zion and whatnot. And I know that kind of stands on the shoulders of Alien and that franchise. So I expect it to be more of that kind of gritty,
right? Gritty, dirty, used tech world.
Yeah. And I dig it. I really appreciated it in Romulus.
Right.
Because Romulus did this thing where like they kind of gave it a new spin, but paid respect to the original.
Absolutely.
And it was great.
The art direction is phenomenal.
Yeah, I was blown away by it.
It borrows heavily from the first Alien, which the game Alien Isolation borrowed a lot from too.
Interesting.
So they admitted it. They were like, we are going to take what they did in Alien Isolation and run with it.
They had reference.
Yeah. So which the game just expands on the look of that world.
Yeah.
And it's so good if you're an alien, if you're a fan of that aesthetic, you just get to run around an entire ship that's built like that. And then like, oh, look at these bay windows. Look at that office. Look at this med lab. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
So how is the cat going to factor in this time? Do you think that the cat will be on the loose and she'll still be trying to save it? And it'll be her and the cat surviving at the end?
Yeah, I don't think we can do this movie without the cat.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, it really does me no good to try to predict what cats do because
that's true.
That's their whole jam is they're unpredictable.
Right. Yeah.
You think they're going to go left, they go right.
Yeah.
So I'd almost rather not even guess. I think that if I had to guess, the cat will not be doing anything that would help her to be safe or escape.
Right.
And will constantly be requiring her to go in the wrong direction in order to grab it and save it. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
Sounds like an accurate prediction of what a cat would do.
I imagine it might like knock some like things off counters and stuff and
right.
And alert the alien of their hiding spot.
Yeah.
Classic cat moves.
Interesting. All right, well, I think we're ready to watch. Are you ready to watch?
Yeah, let's do this.
Aliens.
I'm excited.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Attention, spoilers ahead. We are about to jump into our deep examination of the movie. So if you haven't watched it yet, I strongly recommend you do to fully enjoy this discussion. If you're already familiar with the film, here's a quick refresher to set the stage.
It's long.
How long?
57 years.
Look, I can see where this is going. But I'm telling you that those things exist.
Thank you. That will be all.
God damn it! That's not all! Because if one of those things gets down here, then that will be all. Then all this bullshit that you think is so important, you can just kiss all that goodbye.
Ripley, we have to talk. They've lost contact with the colony on LV 426.
I would like you there as an advisor. And that's all. And I think personally for you it would be the best thing in the world to get out there and face this thing. Get back on the horse.
Spare me, Burke. I've had my psych evaluation this month. Now please leave. I am not going back, and I would not be any good to you if I did. And you little shithead, you're staying here.
I prefer the term artificial person myself.
1, 2, 3, get out! Absolutely badasses! Why don't you put her in charge?
You better just start dealing with it, Hudson.
I say we grease this rat fuck son of a bitch right now.
Come on! Get it, baby! Come on! Come on! Come on, you bastard! Come on, you too! Oh, you want some of that?
Which way is it to the landing field from here?
This way.
Ripley.
I don't want to hear about it, Bishop. She's alive. There's still time.
In 19 minutes, this area is going to be a cloud of vapor the size of Nebraska.
Hicks, don't let him leave.
We ain't going anywhere.
Bishop, you did okay.
I did.
Oh, yeah. Get away from her, you bitch!
Are we gonna sleep all the way home?
All the way home.
Can I dream?
Yes, honey. I think we both can. Sleep tight.
Affirmative.
All right, so we just finished Aliens. Remy.
Yes, we did.
How do you feel?
Good. That was a good ride.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was good.
How intense was that? Was that what you were expecting as far as the tone? Did you enjoy the action? How different it was?
Yeah, it was the tone that I expected. And I was pleasantly surprised by all the action sequences. I thought they were all pretty well done. Yeah, I liked it.
How did the special effects hold up, in your opinion?
I mean, I definitely see it for when it was made. And I think for when it was made, it was pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of what they did at that time must have been like just top.
They were. Yeah. The imagination on display is what really holds up. And it's really funny that you've seen Alien and then Alien Romulus. So you've seen the two bookends of the franchise. And then how does this sit in that compared to those two movies?
The first film, I'm sure it was groundbreaking when it first came out.
Mm-hmm.
That one, when you watch it through today's lens, is a little bit more archaic, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
This, when you think about Aliens as a sequel, like it's a pretty phenomenal sequel.
Yeah.
Like to be able to take everything that was established in the first one and then just take it to the next level. And that's in terms of story and set design, but also just every aspect. This movie relied a lot on practical effects because, CGI just wasn't there for them as a tool. And it does such a great job with that.
Yeah.
We just finished watching the end, and I recall the artificial person. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is it Ash in the first one? And the way that was done.
Right.
Compared to how it was done for Bishop.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw no flaws in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that what felt archaic in the first one to you? Just some of those Ash.
Yeah. It was. Yeah.
Like the puppet of him.
The puppetry.
Is a little bit dodgy, but like I think the rest of Alien holds up as far as set design and most of the special effects.
Yes. I mean, it's there's like a puppetry to it that I mean, obviously there's puppetry in this one, but you don't see it.
Yeah,
you don't feel it. And then to go back to your question, I mean, in terms of Romulus, for Romulus to be a present day modern film, but the way that it can like live in that world and adhere to that universe.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, it's interesting where certain sequels expand and pay respect, and then others kind of just wipe the slate clean and go, I'm going to do my thing.
Right.
So I think Aliens rides the balance really well.
Oh, yeah.
That's why people say, James Cameron's the ultimate sequel maker.
I could see that.
He takes what they had and gives them more of that, but makes it new and fresh and adds his own elements to it.
Yeah. No, you definitely see his touch and his signature throughout the whole film. It's interesting because I think subconsciously part of my avoidance of seeing the Alien franchise, I think it's no secret to you and people that know me, my favorite movie is The Matrix.
Yes.
In the back of my mind, I always knew that aliens like walk so that the Matrix could slow-mo bullet time, And like maybe I was fearful of how much.
Right. You thought it would take away from your appreciation of The Matrix.
A little bit. Okay. Yeah. And there's a artist comes from the comic book world named Geoff Darrow, and he did a lot of the like pre-production, like so in order for the Wachowskis to pitch The Matrix, they knew that their script was hard to understand,
right?
So they had an artist like basically storyboard the entire film,
okay,
so that they could show that so people could see,
right?
And
didn't work for Will Smith though.
It did not. Yeah, didn't win him over. But his drawings, I always felt like those must have come from Alien franchise inspiration,
for sure.
And I still see it, yeah. But so I think that's where the worry was, like how much of it is that, and there's definitely overlap.
I think Remy, you and I have gone over your love of Matrix and the first two sequels of the Matrix, Matrix Revolutions and Reloaded.
Reloaded, yes.
And now I think you know why I am not so big of a fan of the third one, maybe, because you see how it is kind of recycling, but not as good as Aliens.
Yeah,
There's
I mean,
a lot of the gun shooting and people just going run. And for some reason here it works because Hudson has 30 seconds of ammo firing before he gets taken down.
Right.
I feel like in the Matrix it's kind of just like headache inducing because it goes on for like 15 minutes and you're like, okay, how many times can he yell firing this giant machine gun?
Yeah.
And I'm sure for you, not having seen Aliens, you were pretty blown away by the mech suits and the firing of the guns. But
it wasn't so much that I was blown away. I mean, but seeing the load lifters or whatever, I mean, and then thinking back to the APUs in the sequels, the Matrix sequels that you mentioned. That's
right.
I mean, again, that's so informative and influential, I would think, in that. But I think it speaks more to how the Alien franchise in its time really was so influential on whatever came after it in terms of science fiction.
Yeah.
Just as the Matrix
for sure
did that for sci-fi and action after.
Yeah. There are certain movies that are just raised the bar for everything to come. Aliens was definitely one of those.
Yeah.
And the Matrix first one.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I think they're in good company. And, I mean, I see an influence, but I would never call it a ripoff.
No, it's definitely not.
Like it's not, there's certain movies out there. I feel like Stargate came out shortly after in the early 90s after Aliens, and everyone was like, oh, give me a break. Like, Stargate's enjoyable. I'm not going to take anything away from that movie, but it's a lot of Marines going in and getting taken out one by one. You're just like, we've seen this, guys.
Yes.
Come on. What did you think of Ripley's journey? Were you surprised about where it went?
No, I felt like it was necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I never really sat down to think about it, but in our pre-discussion of the film and talking about James Cameron being the director, it really got me thinking about some of the tropes that he uses. And one of them is like this, like strong, braless, tank top wearing woman.
The cast iron bitch.
Yeah,
he says in The Abyss.
And so I kind of expected that. What I wasn't expecting was we swapped the cat for a little girl.
Yeah.
Who kind of served the same.
A little bit.
Yeah, in terms of like having to be rescued. And
right.
She's more useful than a cat. But,
way more useful.
But there was this motherly component, which I mean, even in the beginning when they show her kind of like resting and then they crossfade to Earth, sense of Mother Earth. Or,
right.
That was a nice touch, I think.
Yeah.
Giving her that kind of characteristic of being a motherly and still kicking butt.
Right. What did you think of the character of Newt?
She was fine. I hate that I'm so critical of like children actors.
Oh, okay.
Because like I feel it's hard to do when it's done well. I'm so in awe of like I think of Little Girl in Florida Project or a lot of Steven Spielberg's have great children actors.
Right.
So when there's a child and the acting is kind of like muted,
right? Okay.
It takes a lot for me to.
Oh, man, you're harsh.
Yeah, I am harsh. It's horrible. I'm horrible.
It's okay. I mean, I'm so used to it, and
Kids
I was a child
acting.
when I saw it. So
yeah.
I think she's fine. I think she's great and charming as Newt, and I like that she's a useful kid. She knows exactly. She can almost take care of herself. Like she said at one point, Hudson says, "Why don't you put her in charge?"
Yeah.
She knows how to survive.
She helped them get through the ducks. She knew the maze of it.
So that in that sense, I like that the way James Cameron writes characters and specifically female characters, that they're never dumb, they're never just damsel in distress,
right?
And so Newt can hold her own, and not in some Mary Sue kind of way, and she doesn't know how to reprogram the computer to open all the doors or anything. Like she's just a scrappy little kid who realistically uses her size and uses her meekness to evade the aliens.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to me.
I mean, for me, really, she's more of an extension of who Ripley is. Of being a woman and being smart and being able to overcome these situations and stuff.
Yeah.
I mentioned there's that character in Avatar 2 that's this like regressed feral kind of kid.
Yeah.
And so for me that's kind of what I went to.
Totally.
And that's why I think I wasn't as
Spider
endeared by it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you not like Spider?
It's just like this
a white kid with dreadlocks.
Yeah, it's like,
not the best look.
I liked it when it was done in Tarzan, the animated film. I even liked it when it was done in The Good Dinosaur.
Okay.
A little bit.
Right.
But it's not my favorite thing, I guess.
Have you seen The Road Warrior?
Yeah, that's.
Remember the feral kid in that?
I think that's maybe that's the original poster child.
Awesome. Yeah,
he's awesome. Yeah.
All right, so you don't dislike that archetype. You're just taking issue with Cameron's.
No. I think I do take issue with that archetype.
Okay.
It seems like I don't know, little kids grunting, being kind of animalistic. It's like
fair enough.
I need to go talk to my therapist about that.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm not gonna die on that hill. I get what you're saying. It's a little bit. I don't know. I guess you can give it an eye roll, but it is.
I want to say cartoony, maybe.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, in the world of Mad Max, it feels a little bit more realistic because kids would have to be feral.
Right.
I did enjoy the bond between Newt and Ripley as like survivors.
Oh,
I feel
absolutely.
like that's like a really important message in the film. Or I've read some articles that contend that the essence of Aliens is two mothers fighting over a child.
Yeah.
It's the Queen versus Ripley over Newt. And
yeah, no, definitely had that come to mind when they're basically facing off and they're not saying anything.
Yeah.
But there's definitely this like motherly, like, hey, don't hurt mine, I won't hurt yours.
Yeah, with the eggs and everything. What did you think of the dialogue in this?
Classic 80s dialogue.
Yeah.
There are certain scenes, there's certain hero moments that you get, and I'm like, I need a good line right here, and they never disappointed.
And it delivered.
They delivered.
Yeah. Was it corny but good, or corny and just bad in an 80s way?
Not corny, just the 80s, man.
Just the 80s, like balls
who,
to the wall.
Who says I'll be back?
Right.
And thinks of it as corny. It's like, it's necessary.
Yes. It's not corny.
No,
it's necessary.
It's necessary. Cue Hans Zimmer.
But can we get away with that dialogue anymore?
No, we can't.
I think, they recycle some of those lines in Alien Romulus.
Yeah.
Like literally he says like, get away from her, you bitch.
Right.
And it makes way less sense because he's not talking to a queen.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's clearly just callback for the fans.
Yes.
And, I have to admit, I saw Alien Romulus in the theater twice.
Mm-hmm.
And that line got applause.
Yes.
Both times. I give it an eye roll. I'm like, all right, the rest of the movie's done so well that I'll allow it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make sense. And you're kind of just getting residual goodwill cheer in my book for how awesome that line is in Aliens.
Right.
So
I mean, it's definitely fan service. But again, Romulus had that challenge of it's this modern film and it has to find a way to mesh itself into this franchise that's like from another decade.
Right.
And not feel that modern,
Yeah.
I think what The Matrix did is it kind of took that away from those 80s films where you can make an action film, but not have it be so one-dimensional,
Right.
So that idea of having your main heroes do one-liners, kind of got taken away by that.
Yeah, Matrix is a toned down version of it, but they have a few lines, right? Guns, lots of guns.
Oh yeah.
I guess whoa is like
no, I mean, but that's
biggest
just
line in the Matrix,
that
right?
just happens when you get Keanu Reeves in your film.
That's more Keanu than any other writing. But
yeah,
I guess my question is,
but you're not wrong.
Yeah,
is
it possible to get away? Like, what made the '80s get away with such testosterone-filled action, and it works within the world? I mean, this obviously had the Marines and their bravado.
Right.
And part of it is them getting taken down many, many pegs by these aliens.
Right.
So, you're not just watching some jingoistic Top Gun movie where, hurrah, the Marines or whatever.
Yeah.
But what is that line where it works in the 80s but doesn't work anymore?
I don't know why it does. I mean, it does still work, but I think we've evolved a bit,
Right.
And we've realized that there's other ways to go about it,
right?
That can be more complex. So I think when you do it, it brings back the thought of this is so 80s, and so
right.
Yeah, it's just something that was so much a part of that time.
Yeah, but you're seeing it new, but in your mind you're in the 80s headspace.
Yeah.
So,
because I feel like you have to be.
If Aliens came out, exact same movie,
Mhm.
new today, same dialogue,
Yeah.
you'd be rolling your eyes, right?
I mean, actually, that's kind of a good testament to the movie because
Mhm.
I would be rolling my eyes, but not as much.
Right.
I'd still
because this is done well.
It's done well.
Okay.
It's done well. It holds up. There's no denying that the way that film did practical effects, I mean, really is like a masterclass on practical effects in sci-fi horror or films. Yeah. Really well done.
Yeah, I think when all the other elements are firing on all cylinders too, you can almost give the corny dialogue a pass because like there's so much emotional intensity to the story, and it is such that roller coaster ride that it is a release. Like even if a line's a little bit corny, it serves the purpose of the story of that release. Like, especially like Hudson. What did you think of Hudson as a audience surrogate? Where you're just like, man, who would you be? Would you be a Hudson? Would you be a Ripley? Would you be a Hicks?
So Hudson was Bill Paxton,
Bill
right?
Paxton, yeah.
So my thoughts on Hudson. Yeah, I mean, if he was a surrogate for audience, I'd hate to be considered one of those audience members. This was an elite military force.
Yeah.
And he was very much not reflective of that. Yeah, no, I didn't find him annoying, to be honest.
Okay, really?
Yeah,
Okay. I feel like he's a lot of the comic relief and like sort of a release valve for the audience when I saw it.
Yeah.
People were laughing and loved him, but of course he is annoying. And that's interesting that maybe you're more of a pragmatist who's just like, shut up.
Yeah, yeah. But I think, I mean, again, I hate to say it, but I think he was necessary.
Right.
Because he needed to be that contrast to Ripley and
Right.
her being collected and
Right.
calm. And so you needed him as a contrast to that.
Right.
But I'll give it to him. He did go out shooting guns a-blazing.
Yeah. You'd think he wouldn't, like,
Yeah,
kind of a wuss, but like, well, that's a funny thing. At the beginning, he's got so much bravado, you know.
Right.
He's just like, we're Marines, we're gonna kick some ass, I'm ready to get it on. And then at the minute the shit goes down, he's like, ah!
Yeah.
What did you think of the Marines in general? Were they cliche for you? What did you think of Vasquez and some of the other guys?
Yeah, very cliche. It was very interesting because I think as we were watching, I might have mentioned it to you, how James Cameron and Avatar and that whole military crew there that he had, it feels very much like this was a practice run for him in regards to that.
Right, yeah. Yeah, a lot of the same mech is there. And
Yeah. You know, I think he did it better in Avatar. You got a guy in charge with some scars on his face.
Right. Well, they're the bad guys in Avatar. And
they are.
Technically, they're not Marines. They're like hired mercenaries.
Right.
So
I couldn't get past the camo attire in space. Like, you know, at what point are you going to be in some bushes while in space?
Yeah.
So,
it should have been gray, I guess.
Yeah, this movie, I mean, it was giving a bit Michael Bay to me at some
Right.
point in terms of its like pro-military kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, those are remnants of that was very 80s as well, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
How does James Cameron's testosterone differ from Michael Bay's testosterone?
There's writing involved.
Yeah.
It's actual
Good writing.
It's actual writing.
Yeah, actual writing.
Yeah, there's actual writing. I mean, it's much more sophisticated.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not just explosions. You
Right.
know, that opening scene where like they have that like robot arm opening that door and then another thing coming in to scan.
Yeah.
Very James Cameron and
Great visuals.
great visuals. Yeah. You could really see that he's thinking, what can I implement in terms of this, but have it serve the look of the film and stuff.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And also how James Cameron has a lot of strong female characters.
Yes.
You know, there's Newt, there's Vasquez, there's Ripley, the woman that flies the ship. You know, so that makes it less just pig-headed.
Yeah, it's not Michael
male
Bay,
testosterone. Yeah, whereas
Megan
Michael
Fox
Bay
opening
just
a car hood. Yeah.
Exactly. It's Megan Fox or a woman screaming with giant cleavage as
Yeah.
the robot jumps over her. And it's
Exactly.
like, that just gets my eyes rolling and blood boiling.
Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting when we were watching it and they pulled in Ripley's ship that you were like, oh, maybe the alien stowed away on the ship because she blew it out, but you never saw it die in Alien.
Yeah.
But in Alien Romulus,
Is that the one that they find?
They find that
Okay.
one. So that's a new part of the mythology in Alien Romulus was that aliens can survive outer space and they
Oh.
sort of cocoon themselves and
Got
can
it.
be like revived later because the alien from Alien was revived.
Interesting.
And now we know that the queen might have survived because
Yeah.
she was thrown out of an airlock,
Right.
but not killed. So Alien Romulus sequel, obviously, hopefully they can address that.
Yeah.
So there's 2 sequels
After this one.
after this one.
Okay.
There's Alien 3
Mhm.
and then Alien 4
Mhm.
Resurrection.
Okay.
And then Ridley Scott came back and did 2 prequels.
Oh wow. Okay.
So there's Prometheus and Covenant. Which are you more interested in pursuing, if any?
That's a tough call. I mean, is Cameron involved in the third one?
No.
No. So my interest kind of drops a bit there.
Okay. Do you
Uh,
know who is involved in the third one?
who is it?
David Fincher.
No way.
It's his first feature film.
Oh, I might have to see that actually. Yeah. Wow,
I-
that's
I-
interesting because he, I enjoy his work, but I can't see him making something in that franchise. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how.
So let's just play a little mini movie in your mind for
Okay.
Alien 3.
Yeah.
You just saw how it ended here. They're in the ship in cryo.
Yeah.
Bishop is still alive. Reese is still alive, although he's acid burned. Oh,
Yeah.
and Bishop is cut in half.
Right.
Ripley and Newt are still alive. So what's the premise of Alien 3? Where would you take the story?
Oh man. Well, when with Fincher involved?
Yeah, and David Fincher is the director.
Yeah. I don't know how much bigger you can. I mean, it's like you have this is a queen now, right?
Right.
I think you got to go to their home planet. You know, something makes them have to go to the alien home planet where you get to see all kinds of aliens.
Right, right.
Queens,
right.
you know, alien workers,
right,
alien soldiers.
Yeah.
Some kind of discovery of some planet where they all originate from.
Right.
And just really give you a whole taste of different kinds of aliens.
Interesting.
Alien puppies. Alien cats.
The suburbs aliens where they're walking their dogs.
And if it's Fincher, it's going to be gritty. It's going to be dark.
Right.
Yeah. Might have Brad Pitt in it. I don't know.
Right. That would be very interesting.
Yeah.
Would you want to see Ripley, Reese, and Newt as like a family unit continuing on in the third one? And then how would Bishop be involved in that?
Yeah. It's tough to say. I mean, the Newt character.
Yeah.
For me was very much necessary to kind of help to mirror and reflect and be an extension of Ripley.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'd want to see Ripley settle down, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Becoming a housewife or anything like that.
Right.
Although if she did that and then still kick butt again.
Right.
More power to her. You know?
Sure.
Yeah. But I think the franchise with the tropes I've seen, there is this necessity for them to be on some kind of ship that's like on the verge of blowing up and needs to be escaped.
Right.
So anything that's a departure from that, I feel like too much of a departure for me, I think.
Yeah. They've really painted themselves into a corner in a way because it's so hard to just not make it a retread and be like, all right, they're stuck here and no one believes her and no one this, no one that. Or do you just make it a comedy or a love story? You know what I mean? What other genres can they explore with this alien franchise?
That's the problem with every franchise is that you are, when you become a franchise, you have to retread, you know. I mean, I think this movie is such a good example of how to go about that, but it's not free of its being so on the note, like the airlock.
Right.
That's the one way to kill aliens. Or not even kill them, just kind of get rid of them.
Exactly.
So it happens, you know, you kind of have to. But then, like you said, you kind of put yourself in a corner a bit, for sure.
And I think in the 80s, as technology and visual effects grew, there was a need to, you know, you could retread it, but you're like, but look at all these new toys and colors of paint that we have.
Right.
Now we can make it even 10 times brighter and more and bigger and better budget and better realized. Now it's really, you can imagine anything you want, and it's really just how well you execute it.
Yeah.
And so it is very hard to get any bigger than what's been done already.
Yeah.
You know, just as a side note, I always wanted to see Ripley continues on in the third one, right? But I know you don't like Newt, but I always thought it'd be interesting to lay Sigourney and Ripley to rest, even though she's a vital part of the series.
Yeah.
But like, you know, just let her settle down and then kind of almost pass the torch, Rey Skywalker style, to Newt. Recast her with like Amy Schumer.
Yeah.
Because she kind of looks like Newt, a
she
grown-up
does.
Newt.
Yeah, she does.
And then see where that goes. What did you think of the Queen alien?
That was a great way to up the ante for a sequel, is by showing that. And again, it's not something coming out of nowhere. Like they showed us these eggs in the first one.
Right.
You never think, well, how did those eggs get there? And here we get an answer. And
I was
quite
waiting.
The answer. Yeah.
What did you think of Burke and the company actions in this?
Classic corporate behavior. I hated it.
Yeah.
I mean, just you don't, you know, it's what is expected. I don't know if it's because of the climate we're in today, but like, you know, he did some bad stuff where he kind of like tried to get Ripley and Newt kind of face hugged.
Yeah.
And then they had enough evidence to know it was him.
Right.
And they're like, we're gonna kill you. And they don't. You know, it's like,
it was clear that sitting next to you watching this movie that you were like, let's just kill this guy.
I mean, who's gonna know? Who's gonna know? You know,
I mean, morally, yes.
These guys
they
have
can't
a way
show
of
Ripley just like, you know,
no, it couldn't be Ripley, but
Interesting side note. Apparently, Paul Reiser was watching the film with his mother in the audience. And when he died, his mother cheered in the audience. And he was like, Mom, are you serious? But testament to how his acting was.
Testament
and
to
how
his
the
acting.
character was so, you just wanted him dead so bad. I mean, you're right. In this climate, just this greedy corporation. I mean, at least here they put a face to it. It's interesting that in Alien Romulus, it's all just like, it's the drone who gets upgraded. That's like, it's almost scarier, when it's the
systemic and
like,
without a face,
faceless corporate greed that you can't really reason with or fight with and be like, look, we're in this situation. He's like, nope, I'm gonna do what's best for the company because I'm a corporate drone and I've been trained to do this. So it's just like, the military also kind of like mechanizes their humans, so to speak, and so to follow orders without question. But like, would you rather be with a military drone or a corporate drone? I don't know.
Pick your poison.
Yeah, it's. I feel like maybe that's the lesson is that you just need to hold on to your humanity no matter what your role is.
Yeah, I mean I think Ripley being this like woman and not being military. And her having the wherewithal and the knowledge to hold on to that humanity. She mentions like, I don't know who's worse, those alien things or you guys trying to make a profit. And I mean, I'm with her,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's such a good point when she brings that up. It's like, you think you can rely on your own human beings to fight this existential threat, but they're like, the greed takes over. And even though their like lives depend on each other, Ripley is obviously invaluable to their survival, and he still is like, I think I can get away with this. Like, what did you think of Sigourney Weaver's performance?
Oh, I thought Sigourney was great.
Yeah.
I think her performance, it's very much a continuation of what she did on Alien.
Yeah, for sure.
And again, I think what she did really has kind of been so influential on other female characters in other films that came after that.
She's absolutely iconic.
Yeah. You got to wear a tank top. And
James
kick
Cameron
butt.
gave it to us.
And kick butt.
And kick butt. Yeah. Did you think of her as like a Mary Sue as they speak, where it's like too over the top, an overcorrection, or did it
No.
Yeah.
I know that's a complaint people have about
Ray Skywalker. And everyone thinks woke. Oh, this is so forced. And
But no, I mean, she had this motherly component here, which I think is really kind of in service of not allowing her to be that, showing that she, she's very human. She has to worry about this kid now. And on top of that, really, rely on this sense of survival. It's very human to kind of make it out, not just for herself, but for this little girl.
Right.
And so it shows this human side that I think is what makes it so it's not what you're describing with the Mary Sue.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just basic survival.
Yeah.
And that everyone can relate to that. It's not show-offy in any way.
Yeah. She doesn't have special powers.
Right. Yeah, everything she does is very smart and she just does what is necessary. Not really.
Yeah.
I don't think Ray Skywalker is any more Mary Sue than Luke Skywalker was.
Right.
He was incredible at everything that he did. So like that's just how the main character in Star Wars always is. But it especially feels more real with James Cameron and especially with Ripley. She's just a smart woman. They're stuck with the face huggers, and she starts the sprinklers with her lighter. And so you're just like, that's smart. That's what you do in something like that. And she'll pick up a gun when it's necessary, but that's not the only thing she does.
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, I know Kung Fu. She has all these hidden talents that like no person in her position would conceivably have.
Right.
I think that's the issue that these people have with the Mary Sue, is that like that's unrealistic that she would know Kung Fu, or something like that, and that's not part of this.
Yeah, I mean, you what comes to mind is Captain Marvel and the problem a lot of people have with her character being pretty much invincible.
Right.
But yeah, again, it reminds me of, what was that, Predator?
Yeah, Prey. Prey was really good. Yes.
Prey was really good.
That did not feel forced. It felt like she was fighting within her means.
Yeah.
It wasn't,
Yeah. Again, Sandra Bullock in Gravity comes to mind.
Right. Yes. That's another great character where she uses her smarts.
You have characters who are, fear. They have fear.
Yes.
Yeah. But they survive and persevere despite that.
Yeah, it's the opposite of the Steven Seagal character where he never even gets hit.
Right.
You're not brave if you're not afraid.
Exactly.
You know, so Sigourney does a great job of showing her fear, but handling
Yes.
it. And that's what makes it so great.
I think so, for sure.
And like you said, the Hudson
Yeah.
barometer, it's like, well, we have this over here.
Yeah.
And then Hicks kind of just being wordless and cool and calm. And then Sigourney doing her thing with Newt. And, you know, it all really just feels well balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think you would have thought of this if you saw it in 1986 as a...
I think I would have been blown away by it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it would have been too much for you at that age?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Because my brother took me to this and I was freaked out. I couldn't sleep. You
had nightmares?
Yeah, I had nightmares of that, of the queen descending from the dropship with its skinny legs.
Oh,
and I was
man.
like, oh my God. Like, it would just on a loop in my head. And I was just like, I can't sleep. What am I going to do? Like,
yeah. I don't think I can argue that wouldn't be how I would feel as well. I probably would be more scared. Because I didn't really have any exposure to anything that was kind of remotely close to that.
Yeah.
So I probably would have been traumatized for the rest of my life.
Do you understand why this is considered a classic? And how did this compare to the movie you had in your mind?
It absolutely is a classic.
Yeah.
And it was better than what I had in my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of credit that I knew I had to give to this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm now giving it to it.
Okay.
And yeah, I think, you know, what this movie did for its genre and its time period was very impactful. And, you know, to this day, we still see that impact in cinema for sure. Yeah.
You had mentioned the cameras and the heart BPM
Yes.
readouts and stuff like that being influential. You've seen that? In
Oh,
other
I've seen
places?
it. I can't think of the movies right now, but I know it's been more than one.
Yeah.
Where you have a, you know, ragtag group of soldiers and
Right.
they're being picked off. Their screens
Yeah.
go to black or you get the flat lining.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think they basically directly ripped it off in a scene in Predator 2.
Yeah.
Gary Busey's part of the team, but yeah, there's mission control where they're just seeing everybody go dark and go, what's going on? Get those troops out of here.
Yes,
and you're just like, okay, we get it. You've seen Aliens and you loved it, but...
You have the tracking of them on a screen and they're always little triangles.
Right.
It's always
right,
like,
exactly.
and then the triangle goes...
They're always little triangles.
Just goes away.
Rewinding a little bit, where would you take Ripley, the character? Like, where else could you take her now that she's sort of become a surrogate mother?
Yeah.
And like, I mean, in a lot of ways, I think that her character arc feels complete now because she's like dealt with her trauma. She's taken in this adopted girl who shares her trauma. What else is left to do to this character, do you think? Is there more?
You know, I think if you're smart, you know when to stop something. And I think to your point, like we start this film with her being able to sleep and having these nightmares that affect her physically.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you have her and Newt talking about sleeping peacefully as they go into cryo sleep. And I think that arc is complete. I think bringing her back after that resolution feels a little forced.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think you're better off maybe passing the baton.
Yeah.
Ideally not to Newt, because I mean, she's also been healed from this trauma. And,
right. You don't want to put her through it again.
Yeah. But I mean, again, I think sometimes it's best not to continue. But just like this film deals with Wayland Yutani as this greedy corporation that doesn't care and just wants more money.
Right.
No, you continue making films.
Bishop.
Yeah. Yes.
You said he reminded you of whom again?
Also, Bishop gave me he was giving me like David Carradine.
Right.
One thing I will say about this franchise,
Mm-hmm.
and again, I'm speaking mainly because I just saw Romulus, but they're casting for these, again, not droids, but artificial persons is so well done. I mean, I've been taken by how, I haven't seen it, but I've heard about Fassbender's performance in the Prometheus.
Yes.
And so I think that's something that is very much a trope of this franchise, but it's one that's really good. Yeah.
I think you'll be delighted by Fassbender. It's a pretty
I've heard great things.
Great performance that he gives there. And everybody puts their own twists to it.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting how it's almost a blank slate and you can kind of do a different take on it.
Yeah.
Even though they're just artificial persons and they're kind of robotic, but they bring something else to it. It's so hard to put a finger on.
It is a hard, because I mean, like the casting of them, I don't know what's driving them to cast the people, but there's something in their look that works.
Yeah.
But like you said, they're all very different. Is it Andy from?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, his performance for me was just amazing.
Yes.
You know, there's a moment in the film where he gets booted up again with some different OS from the corporation, and I don't see that as an actor acting differently. I see that as like artificial person who's been up booted and is now something else. And so that actor's ability to pull that off was phenomenal.
Yeah. You were suspicious of Bishop at first. Did you think that Burke was going to be an artificial person, or?
No, I mean, as soon as Bishop came onto the screen, I kind of knew it was he was.
Well, the name Bishop, right after Rook, you were like, that keyed you into.
That keyed me in.
He is.
I thought that was a thing that the franchise was doing with chess pieces, but then I thought of Ash and whatnot. I wouldn't be surprised if part 3 maybe had Newt being revealed as an artificial person.
Ooh,
that'd be a good take.
Great twist. Wow. Great idea.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be so devastating for Ripley. Well, or maybe not, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having an artificial daughter. I mean,
right.
Then we get into like AI territory, Spielberg's AI or something like that. That would be very interesting. A perpetual girl.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I remember ever getting cut in the
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You never saw it.
She never bled.
Could have different blood.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why Bishop saved her.
Maybe.
Because he's like,
yeah.
You know.
He saw her as his own.
Were you upset that Jones got left behind? I mean, he's safe and sound on Earth.
I'm glad for that. No, he's fine.
Yeah.
I'm okay with him not being in this.
You weren't expecting him to jump out at the last minute, stow it away, and then attack the aliens?
I half was expecting that. But again, her having a cat and then a kid running around, that's just a lot going on for her.
She would be very irresponsible to take the cat along with her. Like, that's...
Yeah.
She's obviously a good mother, so she's like, I'm going to keep you here. But
yeah. No, I think Cats in Space, I mean, Alien did it, and we don't need more of that.
Right. Well, I do, but yeah. As a cat person.
Yes.
All right, so final question, like, where do you rank this in your James Cameron filmography?
So T2, I mean, I don't know, he did something with that.
Yeah.
That really, I think for the time, maybe the time the age I was when I saw it.
Yeah. You saw that in the theater?
No, I probably saw that at home on VHS first. Yeah. But I mean, there was multiple viewings of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a rewatch.
Yeah. Again, I don't think that he could have done what he did in that film had he not, had his runs with aliens.
Yeah.
So that's probably at the top. This is up there. It's probably 2 or 3 on my list for Cameron films. Yeah.
It's just such a great thrill ride.
Yeah.
You really the action just unfolds so perfectly well. The pacing is great.
Yeah.
And once that just vortex of the way the third act just pulls you in and just never steps on the gas and never lets up.
Yeah.
It's kind of like classic Cameron with like Titanic and all these things of just tightening action that just never lets up. And you're just like, oh my God, this is so much fun. And I have to say, seeing it in the theater was just mind blowing.
I can't imagine.
With people just like losing their minds over Hudson and, people just laughing and then cheering and then get away from her, you bitch. And then the whole place erupts in applause. It's one of the top cinematic experiences of my life.
So where is this movie for you in terms of Cameron?
Oh, it's definitely up there. I'd say, top 3.
Top 3.
I've seen Terminator 2 so many times that I've almost like just wrung it dry because I've seen it so many times that I'm more of an Terminator 1 fan currently because it's got the 80s vibes and it's a little bit more on the horror tip.
Yes.
With him as a bad guy. But like Titanic and Aliens are probably my 2 top favorite James Cameron films of all time. They're just indisputable in my opinion.
They are.
You say what you will, they might be, popcorn flicks or crowd pleasers and then dumb, corny dialogue, but man, they work.
Yeah.
They work on your emotions.
If films can't also be about that, then what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. I think you're just getting on your high horse and saying humanity sucks.
Yeah.
Which...
My one of my big takeaways, as both you and I know, it's like making sequels is difficult.
Yeah.
It speaks to Cameron's credit to him because he took on these 2 franchises and made sequels for them, and one could argue they're as good, if not better, than the original. And
that's very hard to do.
That's very hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like, as far as sequels, there's like The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
And there's this.
Yeah.
And there's Terminator 2, Godfather 2.
Toy Story 2.
Toy Story 2, yes.
Yeah.
I mean...
It's a short list.
It's a short list. Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
I wouldn't say Lord of the Rings because that is like one movie.
Yeah, it is really,
But yeah, list of all-time, like, arguably better sequels.
Yeah, and he has 2 of them.
He's got 2 of them.
Yeah.
So...
James Cameron.
Kudos to James Cameron, yeah. And you kind of know what you're in for when you go to see a James Cameron movie.
You are, yeah, for sure.
It's funny when I was talking to people about Avatar 2, The Way of Water. People are like, I really enjoyed it. And the end was kind of a James Cameron greatest hits. You know, you have this sinking ship and you have the underwater and then the little girl gets sucked down the well. And that's aliens. Oh, that's Titanic. And I'm like, he kind of did that. He was like, you know what? I'm going to play the hits.
Yeah.
And like, this is what the people want. And now we're in my Avatar sandbox. And he knows what works.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll be excited to continue your journey. Maybe for season 3, we can come back and watch Alien 3. But, of course, watch it at your leisure. If you want.
Yeah, of course.
But, I'd be very curious to continue on with your journey and see where you go with this.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. And this was a great treat. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Get away from her, you bitch.
Thank you for listening to the Movie in Your Mind podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. Follow us on socials, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, and Facebook. Email us at themovieinyourmindpodcast@gmail.com. Theme song track Odeon by Tomorrow's Tigers.